Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you joined us for the third day of the Precious Metals and Critical Minerals Conference. Our next presentation is from First Phosphate. Please note you may submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides, and you can view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings by clicking Book a Meeting in the top toolbar. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome John Pasalacqua. He's the Chief Executive Officer and Director of First Phosphate, which trades in the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol FRSPF and on the CSE under the symbol PHOS. Welcome back, John.
Hi, John, and welcome to all your audience. Very nice to be here. So I'm just going to start very quickly. We are First Phosphate. We are igneous phosphate, but only for the lithium iron phosphate battery industry and not for fertilizers. Very topical today with all the discussion around robotics and rare earths and data centers and energy storage and the need for all of this. Just so that everybody knows, most of that runs on LFP battery now. That's what has made China so successful in those sectors, and that's what needs to happen here in North America. So we're focused on that, the LFP battery to power energy storage, data, and robotics. Okay, so if we move here to the next slide, just to give an understanding of the LFP battery. So the LFP battery is now, it's about 63, but even getting closer to 70, 80% of all batteries produced in the world, and they're mostly all produced out of China. So as you can see, the real competitiveness of China around LFP batteries is there. And, when there were certain issues between US and China, some of the things that China threatened to cut off were firstly, rare earths, secondly, microchip technology, but thirdly, they talked about LFP battery. And that's the reason, because it powers all of these things for industrial automation, data centers, and AI, and a big, massive market to come. Okay, what I just said is also basically seconded by Benchmark Minerals. If you look at what they're predicting as the most important elements for the energy transition, number one is copper, but look at number two, purified phosphoric acid, right? Because they realize that the LFP battery is the new technology for powering all of these things like we mentioned before, data centers and energy storage and robotics. And LFP requires phosphoric acid. There's three things in LFP battery, right? There's the L, lithium. There's about lots of companies out there in lithium. Iron, we know, is kind of out there. It's not plentiful, but it's scarce, but you can find it. But where do you get the P, right? Where do you get the P for LFP? In fact, the entire energy transition might rely not on lithium like everybody thinks, but more on P, phosphate, purified phosphoric acid. And why? Because they're saying that we need 33 new purified phosphoric acid plants in the West to meet the demand till 2030. Well, guess what? In the last 70 years, the Western world's only been able to produce 5 purified phosphoric acid plants. So there would be the need for another 28 new ones in the next 5 years. And in fact, what you're seeing here, if you look at this line here, the pale blue line that goes across here, you can see that that's the supply of purified phosphoric acid is seen to 2045, and it doesn't seem to be budging, right? Like you can't supply more of this. Why? Because we're making this purified phosphoric acid right now on the back of sedimentary phosphate rock, which is mostly made for fertilizers, and we only take the purest stuff at the top from that production to make the purified phosphoric acid. So if you see here, CRU Group is predicting we're going to need twice as much purified phosphoric acid just for the LFP component. But if you listen to what Benchmark is saying, it's really going to be a factor of 7 to 10. So let's say that the truth lies somewhere here in between. Look at that. We have to at least triple, quadruple, or quintuple the amount of purified phosphoric acid in the world. So how do we do that? How do we do that if we have to make all this fertilizer out of sedimentary rock, and we can only take the cleanest 10, 20, 30% off the top for purified phosphoric acid, and only the very big producers can do that? Well, we have to create a lot of fertilizer, right? But the world's an equilibrium of fertilizer. So I tell everybody, unless we're going to colonize Mars, there's no other way to make all this purified phosphoric acid to be able to dump all the lower grade fertilizer stuff. So what do we need to do? We need a rock that can make a lot of purified phosphoric acid. So here on our next slide, we have exactly that, igneous phosphate rock, right? This is what we have access to as First Phosphate, and almost close to 90 to 100% of this rock gets converted directly into purified phosphoric acid that goes into the LFP battery sector right here, as opposed to the sedimentary rock where most of it is not so pure into the only LFP batteries because of purity. And it also creates a lot of slag, right? Big gypsum slag piles that we've all heard about in Florida, North Carolina, and South Carolina. That's really from sedimentary phosphate, and because it contains all the cadmium, uranium, and thorium that's left behind. But with igneous rock, we can process that clean, and we've got gypsum that's clean and can be reused for modular construction and things like plaster. Okay, so let's talk about rare igneous rock. So now we said rare igneous rock is great because almost 100% of it goes into PPA. It solves a problem that we can create a lot of purified phosphoric acid for batteries without having to go through the fertilizer, right? Which is great. That's our model, right? First Phosphate, fully dedicated to the LFP battery industry in North America, wants nothing to do with fertilizer. Okay, so, igneous rock is a solution, but, the problem is that, 95% of the world's phosphate reserves are in this, sedimentary basin, which is kind of what you find in here in the world, right? All the red dots. And then, where's the igneous rock, the 5% purest igneous rock? We have some here in Northern Europe. You have some here in Russia. You have some down here in Brazil. But you have the purest igneous northicite right here in Quebec. And that's what we have access to at First Phosphate. Now, the only one igneous producer right now in the world, pretty much, is Russia. And obviously, that's got issues with sanctions and everything else going on. These two carbonatites here in Africa and Brazil, they have a lot of rare earths in them, so they're generally a little bit more difficult to separate, so they're used in fertilizer, such as in Brazil. But again, here, First Phosphate, igneous northicite rock, Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, Quebec, we can purify that up right to 41% P2O5. This is almost a fully pure phosphate concentrate, the highest purities ever attained in the world. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about our deposit. So it is found at about 2 kilometers from the main provincial highway in Quebec. It is at surface. It's an open pit mine. It's about a 2.5 kilometer strike zone that goes this way. It's about 300 meters wide this way. And so far, we only go down about 300 meters, and we're fully open at depth. In other countries like Russia, they've mined these all the way down to 1.5 kilometers. Now, with what you see there, we can produce 900,000 tons of phosphate concentrate per annum. Already about 25% of that is fully and bankably off-taken to Europe. And we've already been able to produce the phosphoric acid, purified phosphoric acid from this deposit, together with our partners in Belgium, Prayon, who have certified that the deposit is good enough to make, very good actually, to make this purified phosphoric acid. To give you an idea, just with what we have here, without having drilled any further, we have got about enough to make 350 gigawatt hours of LFP battery. And that's enough to power, half of the vehicles that are produced in North America per annum. That's about 6 million vehicles per annum. This mine has a NPV of 2.1 billion. It's got an IRR of 37%, and it's got a payback of 2.9 years, a strip ratio of 1.5 to 1. And all of this is kind of at what are lower igneous phosphate prices right now, but we've seen them as high as 2 to 3 times what they are right now in the past, and we expect that to head that way, especially as phosphate demand and demand for LFP battery continues to expand. Okay, what's really nice is the mine site is kind of right here. It's 70 kilometers going this way to the deep sea port of Saguenay, which is right here, and then from the deep sea port of Saguenay, we've got vessel access all the way to wherever we need to go, especially to Europe, to supply our full bankable definitive offtake that we have. And also here at the port, we'll be producing our own phosphoric acid as well. And about another 30% of that is also off-taken over to Europe. And the rest remains, for our own needs to create LFP cathode active material for the LFP battery industry. We're also very close here to rail. So we've got full rail down to North America, only at 40 kilometers from the mine site. And then this whole area of Quebec, this is the aluminum valley of Quebec. This is where Rio Tinto has been for the past 150 years making aluminums. We have tremendous logistics, tremendous workforce, and tremendous, equipment suppliers as well that, they know industry. Okay. And, just so you know, we're only about 2.5 hours north of Quebec City. Another great thing is that people actually live and work in the cities in this area and go up to the mine site or to the phosphoric acid plant. We don't need to establish, big, complicated camps like you might have to with some of these other mining projects. So it's a great great new industry for the area. And the area already has a mine. They have a niobium mine right about here. So they're used to having mining in the area. Okay, so we have basically a three-pronged approach. So it's going to be, extraction and concentration at the mine site. Okay, we talked about that. That's at Bégin-La-Marche. Then moving into purified phosphoric acid at the port of Saguenay here. And then eventually, getting into the LFP cathode active material, which then goes into, battery packs and batteries and all sorts of different, factory automation, robotics, AI data centers, and energy storage, as we discussed. Now, here's something that we're extremely proud of, and I'll show it here on the screen as well. We made the first LFP batteries in North America, first batteries that were made in 25 years in North America. As you know, LFP technology was invented in North America about 2001, and then by 2003, it had fully moved to China for different reasons. And because of that, we haven't had LFP batteries made in North America with North American critical minerals until First Phosphate did this just this past summer. We took our igneous anorthosite rock, which I showed you at Bégin-La-Marche. We made that into a phosphate concentrate with really, solventless technology. Technology that's been in the mining industry for a number of years, very low risk, no technology risk, recovery rates of up to 92%. And then we moved that into purified phosphoric acid. That was done with our partners at Prayon, the world's largest producer of phosphoric acid. And then with GK and Höganäs, they provided us some iron powder that was actually made from a secondary recovery of iron that we have on the property. So with our own phosphate and our own iron, we made iron phosphate precursor, which you see here. And then we got the lithium from Century Lithium in Nevada, lithium carbonate, and we made LFP cathode active material that you see here. And then with our friends at Nouveau Monde Graphite, they provided us the graphite for the anode of the battery. And Altian, a Nevada-based company, assembled it all and made this for us, the first LFP battery cells in North America in 25 years, made from fully North American critical minerals. Okay, next. So, we have a number of key relationships. Export-Import Bank is waiting for us to get our permits. They can come in for the $170 million of financing to build out the mine. We have obviously Prayon, the world's largest provider of purified phosphoric acid at the table, full collaboration agreement with our Indigenous group, a letter of interest from the Quebec government to obviously help with the build out of the mine once we get going. We talked about GKN, the largest atomizer of steel powder in the world, and a number of other, basically local and international partners that are at the table as well. Okay. Management has always met and beat milestones. Our biggest milestone at the moment is really to get into our feasibility study. We have right now a 35,000 meter drill program ongoing. It's one of the biggest drill programs in Quebec and perhaps in Canada or even in North America ongoing right now. It started in October. It's going to be finished in April of 2026, and that will give us full resource definition. So we've already drilled 35,000 meters. We drill another 35,000 meters, and that allows us to have the full resource defined so we can move into our feasibility study, which should be completed by the end of 2026. We have already almost finished our larger scale metallurgical sample, moving along very nicely with our environmentals and also with our report writing. So we expect 2026 to have the feasibility study done by the end of the year. And then, in early 2027 to have permitting in place, whereby at that point, we'd be looking, to build out the mine. We want to have the mine ready by 2029 to meet our definitive offtake agreements, which are bankable. That's a very aggressive timeline, I remind everybody, but to date, and I knock on wood as I say that, we've been able to hit very aggressive timelines, and we're going to continue to do that because we believe that the earlier, the sooner you can get the mine up in what is, a situation where critical minerals are going to be essential, the higher the value of the mine and the higher the value of the company. So we're working very, very fast for shareholders to get there. Okay. Very interesting. Share price is no longer 67 cents. I think it's about 97 cents today. It's been moving quite strongly. There's been some very strong research reports that have come out from Noble Financial and Emerging Growth Research over the last few days here. Basically, we have raised about $44 million to date. That's all from friends and family. That's with no underwriters. It's all in non-brokered private placements. Our board and management has committed about 3 to 4 million to the company. We continue to buy in the open market. We buy into financings. That's us right here. I'm also personally the largest shareholder and insider of the company as a CEO. So, I believe in the company. I started the company. Most of our management and board are paid in RSUs so that we can keep funds internal to the development of the company. Currently, there's about $25 million in the coffers of the company. And that was raised over the last 6 months here. And right now we are currently getting, the last of our warrants in. There's some warrants at 50 cents here that are expiring here in the next few weeks. Other than that, we've had, very good luck with high net worth investors, family offices, and this has really been our secret. We have not really done, any, difficult financings like some other companies have had to. We always raise money at above market. We just kind of near completion out of our raise at 90 cents. That raise started when the stock was at 80 cents. Stock is now, well over 90 cents. So we've been very fortunate, very supported by our shareholders. Most of our raises are started by an existing strategic shareholder initiating a raise, wanting to continue to have exposure to the company. So we're very blessed with a very strong shareholder base. We have no debt. We're completely debt free. And as I pass to the next one here, we've got a very strong management team. We call ourselves a mining technology team and a mining technology company. Now, what does that mean? We're both mining and we're both technology. So what we want to get to is the battery, and we kind of work backwards from the battery all the way into the mine. So we see the mine as just, an important component of the technology of the battery. You can't get to the battery without the mine. And we're building the entire supply chain. So we're both mining and we're both technology. And, our board and our management reflects that, as well as very strong business leaders out there. If I can leave you with one thing here as we move on. Oops, it's gone back here a little bit. Just getting to this next slide here. So if you look here, basically, everybody's always talking EVs, and EVs are only 7.1% of what LFP battery is. LFP battery is just so much more. It's, large scale transportation. All of the public transportation in China is now on LFP. It's consumer electronics, it's robotics, it's telecom, it's basically telecom towers. And then there's this whole component in here, which is energy storage, right? Which this just slices up in terms of, AI data centers, energy storage, battery walls that people have in their houses. Also, just basically other larger scale energy like solar and wind that needs to be stored. For instance, you take states like California that are doing a lot of solar energy. Well, the sun, as you know, only comes during the day. So you can't really control that current, right? So you have to store it. They have to take the energy down from the sun in the day, and then they have to store it in batteries, which are all LFP, and then they have to reutilize that in the evening. All of that is bought from China. And as you know, with the Trump new sort of doctrine around onshoring, all of these batteries are eventually going to have to be made in North America. This is $100 billion market right now, and it's a market going to $1 trillion. And there's really nobody in that market. And First Phosphate is the only company, as far as I know, that's phosphate, igneous phosphate, fully dedicated, only to LFP battery in North America. So if you want to play lithium, you got 200 or 300 choices out there. If you want to play iron, there's quite a few choices there. But if you want to play phosphate for LFP battery, right now I believe that First Phosphate is the most advanced company in the world to be able to get that exposure. Reminds me of the early days when everyone was struggling to find out who would be the leader in lithium, who would be the leader in graphite. I hope that someone on this call will do the research and see who will be the leader in phosphate and LFP battery. Just a massive exploding market here, especially with some of the recent announcements out of the White House around, robotics, wanting to power all of that, AI data centers, energy. And I think we've seen that too. I think we've seen some senior business leaders come out from some organizations such as Microsoft and Tesla saying, look, the AI revolution, the energy revolution and all that, it's just not going to be possible onshoring as well without storage, without capacity, without energy, without the ability to manage the energy. In fact, if you can use these LFP batteries to better manage your production, better manage your storage, also the consistency of your power, that's right away right there, can sometimes double or triple, basically, or your access to power and your ability to store it and the cost around it. So LFP battery and First Phosphate committed to North American onshoring, committed to North American robotics, AI, energy storage. We are here to be the leaders in what is going to be a massive trend of onshoring here, just getting going right now. Okay, I think I've said enough. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go back to my favorite slide, which is the one where we show how we get to LFP battery all the way from igneous rock from Quebec, boom, into battery. Exactly what everybody wants. This is the full onshoring here that First Phosphate has been able to prove that we can do. And we've cycled these batteries 2,000 times, and they've cycled just like any other battery. So validates the entire chain here that we've been able to create. Okay, so I'm going to get on with some questions here. First question. Whoops. After the private placements and flow-through financing, are you fully funded for your next 12 to 18 months? Yes, we have about $25 million in the bank. I believe that we're fully funded until the end of 2026 and a portion of 2027, which gets us past feasibility and potentially all the way through the permitting process as well. I won't promise 100%, but I think we're there or we're pretty close. And we're like sort of, at the end of it, we've traversed what's called the valley of death, right? Between the PEA and your feasibility study, that big number to be able to raise it, to be able to do your feasibility study. We've got that, and now we can progress to that, very cautiously and carefully here over the next, 12 to 18 months. Okay, what are the catalysts that the two recent research reports point to? Well, I think, everyone's always looking at catalyst. Well, I think you're looking at a seriously undervalued situation here. As I was saying before, right, the lithium stocks are starting to move because it's going to be about data storage. It's going to be about AI data centers. And everybody feels that there's going to need to be a lot of lithium for what? For LFP battery that powers all of that. So people are starting to look around. Okay, well, the lithium stocks are moving. We know we've got iron out there, but where do we get the phosphate? So I think that's one of the catalysts as well, is just the sheer wake-up call of, where's the phosphate going to come at? How do we get exposure to phosphate, especially igneous phosphate for LFP battery, and all of this technology as well to make it? Well, you've got that all in First Phosphate. So I think that's a catalyst. The catalyst is also the onshoring, all the announcements we're getting out of the White House saying, hey, you know what? We need this. We need to get there. You've got companies like Tesla starting to onshore their supply chains, saying that we don't want any more China-centric parts. All suppliers, come back to North America. So I think everyone's starting to understand that, they're starting to look around and like, where's the supply chain, what it's going to look like, and who's got access to it. And well, there you have it, First Phosphate, right? 6 steps that get you from the rock to the battery. I also believe right now we're trading at about 5% of the value of the NPV, just of the mine alone, let alone the phosphoric acid plant or any of the other downstream. So the catalyst as we get towards that feasibility study, complete our drilling here, complete our environmental studies, complete our metallurgical sample. We're all moving at that at a very fast pace. Everybody sees a management team that's committed, that's executing, and the closer that we get to that feasibility study, the more we de-risk, and obviously that's a catalyst in and of itself. Okay, next question. For your MOU with Prayon, what are the key conditions to move the MOU to an offtake agreement, and what volumes are you targeting? Okay, well, look, we already have definitive bankable offtakes with European company. In terms of Prayon, we have moved forward with the phosphoric acid plant. We have full license to be able to implement the phosphoric acid plant. And what else are we asking here? How will you prioritize between Lac-Lorignal and Bégin-La-Marche in terms of capital allocation? Okay, well, Bégin-La-Marche is primary property. It is the property that is going through the feasibility. Lac-Lorignal is going to remain as a secondary property, and that is in the PEA state. So first we have to, bring to market Bégin-La-Marche. We've got, we believe between 25 to 50 years of state just at Bégin-La-Marche alone. We know that the demand is going to be incredible. We know that we need, they're saying we need 33 new purified phosphoric acid plants. We've only got 5, so there's room for about another 20. So we'll start with 1. We'll see how it goes. And if we need to expand, we know that we got La Coloranial there. What we also know is that we've got, tremendous amount of phosphate properties, all of under our control in Saguenay-Lac, Saint-Jean, Quebec. And there's enough for, hundreds of years of phosphate here, or it can be accelerated into a massive industry, all of which will be needed for, all of this electrification, robotics, data storage, and AI. So, we've got it all there. It's just a matter of, getting up and going with a moderate capex, realistic expectations, getting Bégin-La-Marche going, getting our phosphoric acid plant going at the Port of Saguenay, and then we'll see from there. One step at a time, baby steps, right? Investors too, they like to see small calculated steps, get it going, prove it out, move to the next thing. So yes, La Coloranial is there for the future, as well as other phosphate properties. Well, let's walk before we run. Let's get Bégin-La-Marche up and running. Let's get it done properly, and we go from there. Okay. Who are the current North American LFP battery manufacturers? Okay, well, look, there was a lot of battery factories that now most of them have gone defunct or have to be switched. They were all focusing on nickel, manganese, cobalt batteries because it seemed like the big focus was on high-end SUVs that take nickel, manganese, cobalt batteries. Now that that has kind of failed, there's been a little bit of a hesitation on EVs. Everyone's looking into, well, what are the next sectors for batteries? Well, we know that, right? It's robotics, it's automation, it's data centers, and it's energy storage. So all of those concepts that we're working towards NMC, they're now working towards LFP. There's quite a few of them. You would have seen announcements out of Tesla. I believe there's been announcements out of Ford, maybe LG. There's been a few other announcements. You can just Google them all, but they're all moving to LFP battery in North America. Now, what they're doing right now, in my opinion, is I believe that they're just assembling the packs, and the cells are still coming from China. But at some point, when those battery cells need to be, fully made from North American critical minerals, and if you look at the big, beautiful bill, it ain't that far away. It's like 2027, 2028. They're going to need the LFP cam. And where are they going to go for the phosphate? Where are they going to go for the LFP cam? I believe that First Phosphate is potentially the most advanced company in all of North America to be able to provide that solution when these big boys come off looking for it, and when they no longer want to buy cells from China. Okay, was there any other questions here? I believe there's no other questions. So I wanted to thank everybody for coming. I just wanted to, again, state and restate that LFP, right? Lithium's out there. You have 200 to 300 choices of companies to buy in the lithium space. Iron, we know, is available. It's scarce, but it's available. But the phosphate is probably going to be the biggest single linchpin in terms of getting LFP battery going, and in terms of getting all these dreams of robotics, AI data centers, and energy storage going. Where are you going to go to get the phosphate? Have a look around. Look at all the companies out there. Where does First Phosphate sit in terms of the leadership of being able to bring that P to market here for North America's energy transition aspirations? Thank you very much, everybody, for coming.